Hey, Motorman here. If you're not familiar with this channel, you've just showed up here by accident. I'm a motor officer instructor, now retired, and I teach the police motor officer techniques to you, the average rider. I do that on my YouTube channel. Got over 1,200 videos here, and also my Ride Like a Pro video that you can get at ridelikeapro.com. And I want you to think about this for a second. It's said that 99% of motorcycle crashes are avoidable. Why is that? How could that possibly be? Well, that's what I'm going to show you today. All right, so we're going to be riding through some traffic, and I'm going to give you some of the tips and some of the things that, well, that I think about when I'm riding, because I've read so many times, I believe it's in the Hurt report, the only comprehensive report ever done on motorcycles here in the, or motorcycle crashes here in the U.S. It's worth a read. You can find it free on the internet, and I'm going to go about explaining to you how this is possible, that 99% of motorcycle crashes are avoidable. And if you weren't aware of this fact, you should be. Most crashes occur at intersections, and that means even if there's not a light there, if it's an intersection, that's where the crash is possibly going to occur, because generally there's a lot of things going on, and your average car or truck driver is not conditioned to look for motorcycles. I've heard this a million times in crashes that I've investigated. I never saw him. He came out of nowhere. Well, there's no such thing as come out of nowhere. It's just that people are not conditioned to look for motorcycles. They are conditioned to look for other cars and other four-wheel vehicles, but not motorcycles. So though the person may see you, they can still violate your right-of-way by turning left in front of you, the most common one, or pulling out from the right side in front of you, or even coming from this lane into your lane. One of the best ways to avoid those situations is to have the ability to recognize a potential threat. If you can't recognize a potential threat, that is, a car in the intersection waiting to turn left, that's a potential threat. It doesn't matter if they've got the light, if you've got the light, it doesn't matter. You could put on your tombstone, "It wasn't my fault," or "I had the right of way," but you're still dead. So don't count on either one of those things. Being in the right is not going to help you. Recognizing the potential threat, that's what will help you. Recognize the fact that if a car is possibly going to turn in front of you, you should have a plan of action. You should be covering your brakes. That is, keep your fingers poised over your brakes, both the front brake and the rear brake. That's going to save you about a second to a second and a half in stopping distance. And it may not sound like much, but if you're going 40 miles an hour, saving you a second, you've covered 60 feet in that 1 second. So number one, most crashes occur at intersections. Look ahead. Be prepared for the worst. Ride like you're invisible. In this situation, I'm coming to a stop right here. Be cognizant of the fact that a car that's in the left here could very well suddenly decide they want to be in your lane. And you would think a lot of people would recognize that two solid objects can't be in the same spot at the same time, but you know, it doesn't work that way. I've seen many situations where you have a turn lane, a left turn lane, and there's several cars waiting in the turn lane. You got a green light ahead, and suddenly one of those cars decides they want to go straight. They'll look in their side mirror, they don't see you, or it doesn't register in their mind, and they pull right out in front of you. So I always, when I'm coming to an intersection and I've got the green light, there's a red light in the left turn lane, I'm covering my brakes, I'm slowing down, and I'm looking for the telltale signs that a vehicle may pull out in front of you. Sometimes it's very obvious, You can see the car start to creep into the straight ahead lane. Other times it's not so obvious, but be prepared for it. And let me talk a little bit about counter steering. Counter steering or push steering, that means if I want to go to the left, I push forward on the left grip, the bike leans left and goes left. I push forward on the right grip, it leans right and goes right. It's the only way to make a motorcycle turn at speeds. Pushing down does absolutely nothing. Body English is not going to work. That means leaning off one side of the bike or another. That's not going to work. That will get the motorcycle to lean slightly and turn ever so slightly, but it's not going to help you avoid a crash by allowing the motorcycle to swerve quickly. The only way to do that is to counter steer. And like I said, it's instinctual for a lot of people. However, in situations where a vehicle is going to pull into your lane, try to occupy the same space that you're in, that's when it becomes non-instinctual. That vehicle starts to pull into your lane from either the left or the right. Your tendency is to turn away. Your instincts will tell you to turn away from that vehicle. Well, if you turn away, you're essentially pushing forward on the right grip. The bike will lean right and go right into the vehicle. That's violating your right of way. Same thing to the left. The vehicle is coming over. If your tendency is to steer away from it like you would in your car, you're going to wind up slamming right into that car. That's why I advise people to practice their push steering or counter steering, whatever you want to call it. I call it push steering because basically that's what you're doing, pushing forward on one of the grips to get the motorcycle to turn. Now we're coming to some winding road here, some curves. They're pretty low speed curves, so I'm going to downshift into second gear. I'm going to make sure I'm on my side of the road. Again, covering my brake. I might even put 1% of front brake pressure as I'm coming around the curve and then trail off, then accelerate. And that 1% that I'm putting on that front brake is in case something appears suddenly in front of my motorcycle and I have to stop or make a quick swerve or slow down. Since I've already got 1% on that front brake, the tendency to snatch or grab that front brake will be so much less. Those of you asking about my wife Donna, she had hip replacement back in February. It's a 7th one, so it's not your normal hip replacement where you could recover in 2 or 3 months. So pretty soon we're going to be easing her back, since it's been now actually over a year since she's been on a motorcycle. So we're going to ease her back into it, starting small and going up to her 900-pound motorcycle.